That is the weirdest New Year's music ever. Soto! Soto is my tribal chief. All right, so we're going to go live. Oh, we are live. Kind of glad Braun Breaker lost, but now we're talking NWA, guys. I hope you'll hang out with us and enjoy. Why isn't it playing? Play the music.
So, what day is it today?
It was Wrestling Talk like an hour ago. Sorry, man. We do NWA at 2 o'clock, 5 p.m. So I apologize that we weren't there for you.
I was thinking that it might be a good idea if you and I formed an alliance.
Let's get ready to rumble. Hey, I'm already here, but the music's still playing. What's up, guys?
Welcome to the greatest wrestling program in the
I look like
world.
Kevin Owens. I get that a lot.
Can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
Okay, let's party.
It's the pre-party with 𝙍𝙬𝙠𝙪.
It is the pre-party with 𝙍𝙬𝙠𝙪. My name is 𝙍𝙬𝙠. That's me, and this is the pre-party, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. And your boy Jay's been working extra hard to talk about pro wrestling. If you visit this website, alliance-wrestling.com, that camera's showing way too much of the behind the scenes. There we go. We need the 10 pounds of gold in the shot. I thought about Tyrus naked is just wrong. Oh, man, I spoiled the joke, but here we go. We're going to go with the Tyrus joke of the week. Hey, 𝙍𝙬𝙠𝙪, if and when Tyrus takes a shower, his wife has to use the firefighters they use in the forest and building fires. Yikes. That's kind of a clean-looking shot right there. I used to have another title right here, but we're in the process of updating the studio, mostly just cleaning it. All right, let's see. So of course, we're going to get to your questions and comments and all that stuff. But there is a lot of stuff to talk about from the NWA. That's been a very interesting week for the National Wrestling Alliance. I mean, the first of which I think we could all agree that on Friday night, watching former NWA World Heavyweight Champion make his second return to the WWE, Matt Cardona rejoining the SmackDown roster was not on my bingo card for 2026, but that's the first thing that we got in terms of the NWA fans. Now, the real interesting part about that is on Tuesday night, we saw on the NWA programming, which is available on the Roku app at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, and again, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific, we got to see Matt Cardona wrestle for the NWA. Matt Cardona has been wrestling in multiple wrestling promotions, GCW, JCW, TNA Wrestling, even AEW. He's even currently, I mean, until recently, he was the WPW or WSW World Champion. And now we are seeing him show up everywhere he was everywhere. Now we're seeing him show up back in the WWE. And so I'm very happy for Matt Cardona that he worked very hard. He manifested this. This is what he's wanted. He wanted to be back in the WWE. I mean, he never did a podcast or an interview where he didn't mention being ready, always ready to make that return to the WWE. But I think we should acknowledge that his time in the NWA and what he did and what he still has lined up. Because, of course, we saw Matt Cardona win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship a couple years ago by beating Trevor Murdoch. He never lost the title. He only had to forfeit the title due to an injury. So having Matt Cardona, the indie god, the deathmatch king, always ready in the NWA was a short, brief time, but he was very impactful when he was here. And then he would always come back to the NWA. And he actually had challenged all of the former champions. So he had challenged Tyrus for the 10 pounds of gold. He challenged EC3 for the 10 pounds of gold. He challenged Tom Latimer for the 10 pounds of gold. And, he has an upcoming match with Thrillbilly Silas Mason. That guy did so much to put the NWA over in such a short amount of time that I think, whether you liked him or not, you should always be, we should always look back fondly on his career with the NWA. And, his time has run its course. He is done. He has one more match that they'll show, and then it's WWE from here on out. But we have to celebrate and congratulate the former World Heavyweight Champion on his epic run in the NWA and his return to the WWE. And again, this guy set up the blueprint for every single independent pro wrestler to follow. I mean, it was executed by him, but his wife did the same thing. And his wife got there even faster in Chelsea Green. She spent time in the NWA. She had these opportunities. She went everywhere. And as soon as the opportunity came for her to rejoin the WWE, she took it. So for Matt Cardona to be back in the WWE, I'm excited for him. And I'm very happy to see it. What is up, Fortnite Gamer? Thanks for hanging out with us today. Welcome to the show. This is the pre-party with 𝙍𝙬𝙪. I'm 𝙍𝙬𝙪, and we talk pro wrestling. Specifically, we talk about the National Wrestling Alliance. And, of course, I just mentioned Matt Cardona, the former NWA World Heavyweight Champion who just made his re-debut in the WWE this past Friday night. And they're still calling me Kevin Owens over there on TikTok. But no, Baked Ham 51. I am 𝙍𝙬𝙪 from the Alliance blog. And you should respect that. You should respect it. Anyway, getting to more comments. Keith, what's going on, Keith? I am not KO. My name is 𝙍𝙬𝙪. I am from the Alliance blog. Kevin 𝙍𝙬𝙪 Owens. I prefer you to say it that way, Baked Ham, because people used to call me J Owens, and I did not like the initials JO. If you know, you know. And now I think I've said too much. Hi, 𝙍𝙬𝙪. Oh, we did that one already. All right. So Patrick Moore has a question. Now this is an interesting one. We're going to be talking about tag team with Jey Uso. Thanks, H. That's not going to happen. How did it work in the past for the NWA territories? Pre-Billy Corgan, were the territories locked in a contract? Were they able to freely leave the NWA at any time? I don't think there was anything preventing them for leaving or staying in the NWA. So for the territories, remember, the National Wrestling Alliance used to be a co-op. Why is the camera up so high? Let's lower that down a little bit. Can we do that? That's a little bit better. Sorry, guys. We're still working out some of the kinks. I moved the camera. I don't know if you could tell. You could see a little bit more of the behind-the-scenes stuff. But the thing about the NWA is it was always a co-op. It was multiple wrestling promotions working together. So in the original inception of the NWA, and we're talking back 1948, with Pinky George and those guys, the NWA was supposed to be a co-op. And prior to Billy Corgan taking over the NWA, we'll call this the Pro Wrestling Organization era. That was the era that ended in 2012. You had members, you had affiliates, and you had associates. Members, associates, and affiliates. Affiliates were not connected to the NWA at all, but they got to use the NWA insurance, and they got to use the NWA name because they were partnering with a member promotion. Those were usually free. There was a symbiotic relationship because the territory, the member of the territory would allow this promotion to use its likeness, and it would help promote the NWA name. In California, Dave Marquez was the NWA promoter. He was the NWA member, but he had affiliates all across the country. He had AWS, EWF, Rev Pro wasn't part of it. Mach 1 Wrestling, SoCal Pro, and all those promotions were running events, but were promoting the NWA titles, promoting the NWA World Champion. So that's where the benefit was for all parties involved. They were all working together to make one area better. So in that sense, the NWA territories, anybody could have left. Those affiliates and associates could leave anytime they wanted to. Members were part owners of the brand. They all owned a share of the stock. It was a co-op. It was not a publicly traded, but a privately traded company. If you bought into the NWA, you were a part owner of the NWA. That's how it used to be. And then all that changed when Bruce Tharpe gained control of the NWA, and he set it up as a licensing agreement. And this is what we call the International Wrestling Corporation. This is the designated name of the LLC that technically owned the NWA. So once Bruce Tharpe took over, everybody was under a contract, and these contracts were for 1 year. Now, if somebody decided to quit or leave the NWA, that's fine, but you had to pay to be a part of this license. So you bought the license for 1 year. It was good for 1 year. You had to adhere to their rules for 1 year. And after 1 year's time, if you did not renew the license, you were done. And if you chose to renew the license, but the NWA said, no, we're good, you're done. So it was a one-way street. And the licensees were really kind of at the mercy of the NWA, because if the NWA didn't like what you were doing, they could kick you out, and there was no refund and there was no guarantee. All discretion was left to the board of directors, which, was a little bit different. So, drink of water. So I hope that answered your question, Patrick, because it was a little bit different. Hey, Wrestling Classics, welcome back, man. I haven't seen you around in a while. Glad you're still posting on the Discord regularly, but happy to see you here on the pre-party as well. Willie Bowen says, I want to see Hammerstone win the 10 pounds of gold. Love or hate the guy, you cannot deny his run as an unsigned talent the last few years. Guy's been everywhere, like everywhere. Yeah, I don't have a single negative thing to say. That was weird. I don't have anything to say negatively about Matt Cardona as a worker. The guy, nobody worked harder than he did. Nobody on this planet was working harder than he was. But I'm not a fan of him as a pro wrestler. I can respect the work. I can respect the hustle. Wasn't really a fan of him as a talent. Coward Cardona hasn't been to Japan wrestling in All Japan Pro Wrestling. That's true, Willie. That's true. That's a very good point. He has not. Does he have to? Sorry. Okay. All right. Your word was your bond. Wrestling Classics, remind me what you're talking about. I was saying a lot of things when I think you typed that, but what do you mean? Looks like Markova is wrestling in Midwest All-Star Wrestling in March. It's been a long time since Markova wrestled in an MAW ring. Yeah, I mean, look, Markova is one of those talents that wrestles everywhere. Over on TikTok, they're mentioning Ziggler could do the same thing as Cardona. I would 100% support and love to see Nick Nemeth wrestle all over the country, including the NWA. I just feel like he's very content with working for TNA and doing stand-up comedy. So I don't think we'll see that from him. But yeah, as far as Markova goes, she's worked everywhere. And one of the things that I'm really excited about in 2026 is that we're seeing some of these NWA talents actually starting to work the territories. Not working the territories like showing up once in a while, but we're starting to see the world champion, the national champion, the tag team champions. We're seeing the guys, the main events, the superstars of the NWA really travel these territories. Duke City Wrestling did feature Markova in the past and Brian Idol in the past, but now they're bringing in the world's heavyweight champion. We're seeing the The Country Gentlemen will be there in Duke City Wrestling. We know that NWA Texas is going to bring in Silas Mason, and we'll talk more about that stuff later. But yeah, I was never a fan of Tony Brooklyn. But getting back to Markova, yeah, she really, the NWA is doing what they can to help make her feel like a bigger. I don't mean to keep clicking that. To make her a bigger deal than what she is. Like, look, she beat Kenzie Page to win the Burke. That is a huge deal. The Burke is the NWA Women's World Championship, named after Mildred Burke, who famously was one of the top women draws in pro wrestling in the turn of the century, in like 1950s, 1940s, that sort of thing. The title pays tribute to her, as she was the NWA Women's World Champion. And seeing what Kenzie Page did with the title, we all celebrated her. She had a great run as world champion, and at some point I'd love to see her get that title back, but I want to see what Markova can do. And with Markova being able to go all across the globe, with the NWA, working the territories, bringing the Burke to these territories, I'm very excited to see what she's going to do. Now, Chris Drummond, it's almost like you're reading the website. It's almost like you're following what's happening about we had some recent departures in the NWA. Of course, Colby Corino has rumored to Colby Corino was rumored to have left the NWA, but I haven't seen any official statements from him or the NWA. And furthermore, one of the main sources that was reporting Colby Corino had left the NWA, which was Fightful. If you go to Fightful right now, there is no article about Colby Corino leaving the NWA. And I'm going to look right now. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to look right now. I'm going to Fightful, and I'm going into the search window, and I'm typing Colby. No, let's do this again. We're going to get it right. Colby Corino. And we search. Hit the search button. And no, there's no news about Colby Corino. 22nd, they talked about the Colby Corino benefit show. October 26th, they're talking about the benefit show. Colby Corino gave updates regarding his next surgery back in August. But there's no article about Colby's site. And then if you type in NWA, because, hey, maybe they just labeled it wrong, right? You type in NWA. They're talking about Erica Demina. They talk about EC3. They talk about Tony Khan. They talk about Markova winning the title. But there's nothing about... Oh. What happened there? What happened? All right. Well, something happened. I don't know if we're live. Looks like we're still live. Still alive? Yeah, we're still alive. Okay, cool. So going back to Colby Corino, there's nothing to indicate that he's left. And if Colby Corino left, cool, man. But like, there's nothing concrete indicating that he's left. So like, I don't know if Colby Corino has left the NWA. I messaged Colby Corino. I messaged the NWA. No one's responded yet. Maybe they won't. But I don't want to report on rumor and hearsay. When it's factual, I will post, hey, he's gone. He's left the company. But as of right now, we don't know where Colby Corino's contract status is. I also saw a report that AEW was interested in Colby Corino. He certainly would fit into the Ring of Honor part of AEW. He certainly has that style of wrestling, but he's still also recovering from a serious neck injury. We talk about Kevin Owens' neck injury. We talk about Adam Copeland's neck injury. We talk about Steve Austin's neck injury. It's not like these things heal up and the wrestler comes back 100%. There's always a different level of, can they still go? And I don't know what's going to happen with Colby Corino. Of course, I wish him the best. His papa, Steve Corino, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, is also working for the WWE in its developmental system. And at one point, it was rumored that Colby Corino was signed to NXT. In fact, the last time he left the NWA, it was because he had apparently signed with NXT, but then they did a hiring freeze for the WWE, and that never happened. So I don't want to report that Colby Corino has left the NWA until Colby Corino says that he's left the NWA. With that being said, EC3 100% did make it very clear that he would be leaving the National Wrestling Alliance. And, again, we talk about what these guys have done for the business, what they've done for the NWA. EC3's run as world heavyweight champion, I don't know you could have asked for anything better. The guy really did put in the work as world heavyweight champion. Now, they reportedly said that he defended the title 80 times. I don't know if that's true, but I do know that he defended it over 50 times. And that's a hell of an accomplishment. 50 times means that he defended the title once a week pretty much all year. 80 times seems like a stretch, but I mean, stranger things have happened. We know that he did take the title to Canada. He took the title to Australia. He took the title to Europe. And I think what's most impressive is he was the first NWA champion since Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in 1989 to defend the title in All Japan Pro Wrestling. That is a huge get. And now, when I spoke to him when he came onto the podcast, he did mention that that was a lot of help with Dory Funk Jr. and just, you know, having that relationship with Dory Funk. That was cool, man. And, you know, for his time in the NWA, not only was EC3 the NWA national champion, he was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Him and PB Smooth as a tag team, the Holy Grail, looked very good in the Crockett Cup. I almost felt like they were getting pushed towards the World Tag Team titles. And he was the first promoter to join the National Wrestling Alliance as a territory in the modern Billy Corgan era of the territory. So I don't feel like we could talk negatively about anything that EC3 did. And especially, I'll be honest, man, I was afraid when EC3 joined the NWA. I thought we were going to get a lot of bullshit with the control your narrative stuff. I thought we were going to see a lot of chicanery involving, you know, guys with hoods. And we did get some of that. We did. But by and large, we got a very dedicated pro wrestler, put in a lot of heart and soul into the NWA, looked good, wrestled well, had great promos. Retired Tyrus. For that very reason alone, we should celebrate the man. He put Tyrus out of the business, and for that, we should all celebrate him. But he did take to social media to say this. He said, "My time with the National Wrestling Alliance has come to an end. I'm grateful for the opportunities I was given and the people I shared work with. The top 1% was never a gimmick. It is a stand. Future actions will reflect that." Like I said, during his time, he defended the title all over. He also would go on to say in social media that he was the most proud of his rivalry with Tom Latimer, of course, which netted Tom Latimer a very successful run as NWA World Heavyweight Champion. But we also had the ultimate match of death between him and Matt Cardona, speaking of Matt Cardona, which was the first main event for the NWA when it was being broadcasted on the CW Online app. And then defending the 10 pounds of gold against former champion Jack Stane, which I think we could all appreciate that. It was the only time that they shared the ring together. And it was a special moment for the NWA. Again, Jack Stane passed away a year ago last Christmas. It was 2024 Christmas he passed away. So, again, he did some pretty memorable stuff. And, of course, retiring Tyrus. Now, the great thing is, as of right now, and of course, everything is static. Everything could change. Exodus Pro was introduced as the first NWA territory, and it's still being acknowledged as a territory. Now, there's been no official announcement if Exodus Pro will be leaving the NWA. And as of right now, Richard Holiday is the NWA Midwest champion, a product of Exodus Pro. And the 10 pounds of gold is scheduled to be defended at the next Exodus Pro event. And talents like the Slimeballz, Carson Drake, and PB Smooth, Dante Casanova, all of them came to the NWA by way of Exodus Pro. So very exciting to see what's next for EC3. If I can throw out my own personal hot take, I think we're going to see EC3 in the new TNA on AMC, but that's just unsubstantiated gossip, rumor, innuendo, hopes, dreams, whatever you want to call it. I feel like it could happen. All right. Moving right along. Yeah, okay. Wrestling Classic, we're on the same page. Wasn't a huge fan of Matt Cardona, but you have to celebrate the hustle that guy put into pro wrestling, not just in the NWA but everywhere. I mean, and like it was, I guess, unsolicited feedback too. He was telling talents like, "What are you doing? Why are you in the back shooting shit with the boys? You should be out there selling merch. And if you don't have merch, you need to get merch. And if you can't get merch, then figure out a way to get merch. Use your entire paycheck to get merch." And the points that he brought up were pretty smart. Because if you think about it, if you think about pro wrestling as a business, and that's how we all have to think about pro wrestling as a business, what makes dollars? Merchandising, you know. And if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. The whole point of pro wrestling is a business. And if you're a heel, you could still be a heel and sell merch. MJF, for Christ's sake, that guy is the best heel in pro wrestling, and I'm sure he sells a ton of merch. You always see fans asking for his autograph. You could still be over and still be a heel and still move merch. The bullshit excuse is like, we can't. Yes, you can. And Cardona proved it. Yeah, Chris Drummond, yes. You know, and let's be honest, Cardona working DDT is not the same level as EC3 defending the 10 pounds of gold in All Japan. But you do have to give credit where credit is due. He did take the title. He did won the DDT Ironman's championship. And there was some things that he did in Japan. But again, like, that's neither here nor there. He's in the WWE now. He's happy. That's where he wants to be. His wife is there. We wish him nothing but the best. Thank you, greetings and salutations. It's time to move on. Oh, I got you. Classics. Yeah. Basically, your word was your bond. And that's how it was, because it was very much a mom and pop shop. Remember, the NWA, even though it has existed since 1948, in 2006 was basically a mom and pop shop. People from all over the world were promoting the NWA brand on nothing more than a handshake. And it caused problems, sure. And it caused a lot of, there's some positive and some negative. Hey, Love Bug, what's going on? Thanks, Gus. Gus over on TikTok says, the neck looks better. I can move it now. Thanks. I know what you're implying, Gus. Silas in Memphis? That's another thing we're going to talk about. Silas Mason, your NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, has not rested on his laurels. Now, again, he's got an upcoming match with Matt Cardona. It's taped back in August. He's got a match with Matt Cardona that's coming up very soon. And then real quick, I'm going to deviate from the Silas Mason talk to answer what Lovebug asked, because it's an important question. But a lot of people are saying, hey, how can we watch the NWA? And that's actually funny, because there's a YouTube question with almost the same thing. It's sucky, right? The NWA has a contract with Roku Sports. That's where you could watch the NWA. Unfortunately, if you live outside of the US, it's not really available, which is the craziest thing in the whole wide world to me, because you can watch Roku in other parts of the world, just not the NWA. The National Wrestling Alliance airs weekly on Roku Sports at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, and 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. They do back-to-back. Or not back-to-back, but you know what I'm saying. They do 2 episodes. They rerun the episode later in the night. That's how you watch it here in the U.S. Across the country, there isn't really a solution. Across the world, there isn't really a solution, which sucks. In the past, they've advocated using a VPN, but even our friend of the show, Fiona, who lives in Scotland, has had problems watching the NWA through a VPN. And Michael, I'm sure that might be an issue for you too, being able to watch the NWA. And it sucks that it's not available to you guys. I feel like that's such a huge misstep for the NWA, especially when there's things called licensing agreements. There's people will pay for your content. You just have to find them. And so far, the NWA hasn't had a good track record of getting its content outside of its regular distribution. They do still run programming on YouTube. They call it Into the Fire, NWA Into the Fire. And it's basically like a hype show for the next week's Power. They usually put a full match on there that has yet to be seen on YouTube, and they'll air clips and stuff from the past while also promoting what's coming up next. And yeah, Lovebug, with the NWA, if they were on an app like Amazon or Pluto or something that's free for everyone to watch, I feel like they'd be better off. But I mean, even still, like being on YouTube, I felt like might have been a better vehicle for them than being on social media. Better than them being on Roku Sports anyways. Hate to see EC3 leave. If rumors are true about Colby leaving, that hurts. So the thing about Colby Carino is, and again, I feel like it sucks. If Colby Carino leaves the NWA, I do feel like that sucks for the National Wrestling Alliance, especially because they've been giving him, they've been talking about his comeback. They were building him up with a storyline with Carson Drake. They had a built-in storyline from when he gets healthy and cleared to come back to pro wrestling. And it doesn't seem like we're going to get that if he is rumored to be leaving, and if that's true. But honestly, if the guy is hurt, I don't know where he's going to wrestle at anyways. Where's he going to sign a contract if he's injured? He's still going to have to wait till he's healthy. And that might be what this is. The NWA might have said, hey, look, we're not going to tender you a new contract until you're healthy. And that's kind of that's the cost of doing business. It might hurt with integrity. It might hurt with people's perception of the brand. But at the end of the day, you have to worry about a business that makes dollars and cents. And if doesn't make sense to pay a talent who can't work. And yeah, Sean Mega did bring up a good point. Last year, Colby did beat the world champion clean as part of that Jack Stain Memorial Tournament. And I really do think that had Colby not been injured, I think they might have started working him more into the main world title picture. And who knows, maybe he will at some point. But as of right now, that's not what it is. We'll get to Silas Mason more in a minute. But yeah, Michael, Thrillbilly winning the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship was such a huge step in the right direction. And it's not because I'm not a Tom Latimer fan. I actually love Tom Latimer, and I think he's great for the NWA. And I hope he gets another run with the World's Heavyweight Championship sooner than later. But this is the first time a homegrown talent has won the 10 pounds of gold in the NWA. And I think that's huge. That's something that needs to be celebrated because Nic Aldis had the backing of TNA for a couple years as its world champion before he became the NWA world champion. Cody Rhodes, obviously legendary father, had a pretty decent run in the WWE before he left. He's had the list. He went to New Japan, Ring of Honor, won world titles there, had a great run throughout the companies that he was a part of, and then came to the NWA to win the world title. Trevor Murdoch had an extensive career with the WWE before making his way to the NWA. Tyrus, again, had a lot of time with the WWE, TNA Wrestling. Both those guys had that success elsewhere. And then, Matt Cardona, same thing. He had that WWE machine hyping him up for all those years. And, even Tom Latimer had that extensive experience, had that background, had that time with TNA Wrestling. And let's not forget, Tom was also a product of the NXT camp as well. He was part of the original Ascension in NXT. So Tom Latimer also had the backing at some points of WWE and TNA Wrestling. But Silas Mason has none of that. And I mean that in the best way possible. Not that he wasn't capable or good, but that he's built up his own brand without needing a big company to do it for him. And to take a hold of the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, the longest reigning world championship in the United States, I mean, that says a lot. And what Tom did with the belt and what EC3 did with the belt, and now Silas Mason has the same opportunities that are being presented. I mean, I think the world is his oyster. And look, we've already had Silas Mason. Of course, he defended the title at the 77th anniversary show. That match with Matt Cardona will air on Roku very soon. I think in like 2, maybe 3 weeks. Then he's also been defending the title in Mississippi for EPW. He defended the title in Dayton, Ohio with a Wrestling Revolver against Rich Swann. Then he went and had a title defense for Crossfire. He's having a title. He had a title defense in Memphis. Memphis, who has TV, Friends of the United Wrestling Network are quite familiar with Memphis. So having Silas Mason on that product, bringing in the NWA World Champion to that show, I think is a huge deal. And then he's also has scheduled defenses in New Mexico. He has scheduled defenses in Texas and WLW, I think. Maybe I might be off on that one. But the fact of the matter is, and Exodus Pro, he's taking the belt and doing what a world champion should do. He's hitting the territories. And he's doing that in a way that we haven't seen in a while. Yes, EC3, yes, Tom Latimer took the belt all over. But we didn't see EC3 or Tom Latimer in Duke City Wrestling. We didn't see either one of those guys defend in Texas with the NWA Texas territories. So it's a huge deal, man. And I'm very excited for it. I would say, I would go as far as to say that I popped for it. Let's see. I wonder if Exodus Pro would stay in the NWA even though EC3 left. I think so. As a territory, I don't think EC3 is literally booking the territory, right? I don't think that EC3 is literally I don't think he's in the back calling companies to see if they want to sponsor the show. I think he's the money, and I think he might be part of the brains, but I don't think he's the extensive sole person doing Exodus Pro. And if as far as I can tell, and I'm sure if I'm wrong, I will be told so, but I don't think EC3 left the NWA due to any kind of dispute with Billy Corgan or what Brian Idol was saying publicly. I think he left the NWA because at the end of the day, he's 42 years old. He's only got so many more years left on his ability to wrestle. And I feel like if he's going to take that next opportunity, it might be, TNA Wrestling back on AMC. EC3 was a big name for TNA Wrestling for many, many years. And as they finally have reached that next pinnacle, bringing EC3 back to AMC sounds like a smart business decision, if you ask me. And he could help legitimize whoever the world champion is at that time, whether it be Frankie Kazarian or Ortiz or whoever. I feel like that'd be a huge pickup for him. So for that, I think that's a huge, huge deal. I think that's a big move. So professionally for EC3 as a wrestler, his best move is to move to that next opportunity. He's done everything he really can do inside of the NWA ring. Now, as a promoter, as a business owner, there's still a lot of value being connected to the NWA. I mean, what they built with Exodus Pro, part of that is with the NWA name. And if you take that NWA name away, is Exodus Pro still a thing? Absolutely. But does it have the same value? I don't know. Once they're no longer a part of the NWA, they're just another indie promotion. And there's been a lot of positivity with Exodus Pro. Literally, they're showing that show on the main NWA YouTube page. And we don't know specifics. I mean, we don't know what kind of ownership that EC3 has. Maybe he has some ownership into the NWA. Maybe he worked out a deal with Billy Corgan. I don't know. This is speculation on my point. I don't have any facts to back anything what I'm saying up right now. But what I am saying is, just because he left as a wrestler doesn't mean he necessarily has left the territory. Noob says, I hated Control Your Narrative. Remember, it was a thing during COVID. Yeah, it was terrible. EC3 and TNA would be a great callback. Yeah. Oh, exactly. See, and you hit that first, Noob. You got there first, but it's something that I said on other chats. The NWA is also on Pluto. Isn't that worldwide, Jay? Yeah, I think it is. But also, what's available on Pluto is the on-demand episodes, not new content, but what they put with the Wrestling Central, right? Wrestling Central is an amalgamation between NWA Wrestling and WOW Women of Wrestling, and those matches are at least a year old, if not older. So you might be right, Chris, but it's not like fresh content. Yeah, Sean, and I think they can watch it in Canada and Mexico. I don't really know. Steve, what's up, Steve? Happy New Year. Good to see you, sir. Like, I can't post that, Willie, but yeah, she did defend the women's championship last Saturday. I can't post that, Willie. I think NWA Exodus is in its last days. They probably got an agreement they need to finish, but EC3 might want to do his Control Your Narrative thing in Exodus. Maybe Sean, or maybe he understands that Control Your Narrative is kind of has a toxic connection to it, and a lot of fans want to stay away from that. And this is more of a family-friendly environment anyways, where they're teaching. It's kind of like a working class. And you got to remember, too, the other thing about it is how many talents in the NWA currently were working for Exodus Pro. They are training with the Exodus Pro school, right? So we got the Slimeballz. We got Carson Drake. We got PB Smooth. We got Dante Casanova. All these men were working in the NWA, got their start with Exodus Pro. So I wouldn't be shocked if Exodus Pro did depart the NWA, but I don't understand what's the benefit for them. Because as of right now, if you're still trying to recruit talent, to train talent, to educate talent, to push them to the next level, they have a pipeline directly to the NWA. What other promotion will be there for Exodus Pro? Where can they funnel their talent to? Ohio Valley? I mean, actually, that's probably not a bad idea, but I don't think that's something that's set up right now. But it is with the NWA. Patrick Moore says, speaking of the United Wrestling Network, what do you think of the Sunday Night Slam? Do you see all the brands under one roof for that show? Patrick, I'll get back to you more when I know more. As of right now, I don't think it's going to be an all-brand show. I think it's going to be something, a bit of a hybrid between what they're doing in New York and what they're doing in, in California. But as soon as I know more, I'd be happy to talk about it. I asked Dave Marquez if he would like to come onto the podcast, and he told me when things get to be a little bit more concrete. Where is the NWA's home base now? Well, I still feel like the NWA's home base is Tampa, right? Because that's where they do the TV tapings. All the tapings are still taking place in Tampa. We know that they will probably do some more signature live events. I would imagine a return to the 2300 is imminent in 2026. I feel like they'll probably end up back in Dothan, Alabama. In terms of anywhere else, like Center Stage in Atlanta, I don't know. In terms of the spot they were in upstate New York, Rhode Island, wherever it was, I forget. That I'm not confident. I don't know, but I would imagine that the three other spots that I listed, I think that's where they will be. Patrick, UWN used to do a pay-per-view. Yeah, and I feel like this isn't going to be that. I don't think it's going to be a pay-per-view per se, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Cross and Strowman are available for EC3, just saying. Yeah, and look, that might be something he chooses to do as well, but at the same time, Control Your Narrative, again, has that negative stigma attached to it. And a lot of people just wrote it off before it even got started. They looked at it as, well, there's a lot of things that were said about it. So I would not hold my breath for anything Control Your Narrative to continue to be produced. I could be wrong, but I feel like the money is him joining the TNA wrestling. Oh, I caught up to everybody. All right. So let's talk about this week's episode of POWERRR for the next 10 minutes, right? So this week on POWERRR, what we do have is several matches that look very interesting to me. First and foremost, Kerry Morton. Man, that guy's been through the ringer. 2026 has not been kind to him, or at least 2025 wasn't. The end of 2025, because he lost the U.S. tag titles when Alex Taylor was not able to compete. The titles were won by the Slimeballz when he wrestled a handicap match. Thrillbilly Silas Mason wins the world title, then Kerry Morton loses the tag titles, and Alex Taylor will have a title defense coming up very soon as well. So now Morton is looking to become relevant again. Without the U.S. tag titles and with Taylor, focusing on the junior heavyweight title, what's best for Morton to do is to get back into, winning contention. He needs to have some victories over some top talent to get opportunities against Mike Mondo or against Brian Idol, because both those guys are holding the TV and national title respectively. So Damian Fenrir steps up as that opportunity, that challenge for Kerry Morton. Fenrir had a very solid 2024. I think I meant to write 2025. Anyways, he became the King Bee, winning a shot at the World Junior Heavyweight Championship. Although he lost, the title match to Alex Taylor, he still won that King Bee matchup to get that main event opportunity. And then he also had a victory over Nic Swift in his short time with the National Wrestling Alliance. If 2026 is going to be Fenrir's year, he needs to get a victory tonight against Morton. So this matchup is a very important matchup for both these guys. Double D! Yes! What's up, brother? Willie says Slimeballz suck. Did they draw a good crowd in Dothan? So, Michael, every time we saw them in Dothan, it looked very, very good for Dothan. So, that I feel like is one of the best spots for them to be in. Every time they worked in that arena, that Dothan Civic Center, they had a good showing. Anyone watching Juggalo Championship Wrestling carries like one of Russo's henchmen. I don't watch. I haven't watched any JCW, and it's nothing against JCW, but Double D just popped me. But I do think that Kerry Morton has had a lot of experience working JCW, and they're working a lot of dates. They're running all over. And in fact, their schedule that they have is outpacing what the NWA is doing. A lot of talents from the NWA are working JCW, and I have no problem with that whatsoever. Getting those reps in and stuff like that's going to help Kerry Morton become a better wrestler. And I wouldn't be surprised if Kerry Morton is the next JCW World Champion. Just saying. Alex asked if that Dr. Wagner mask in the back, or is that a Dr. Wagner mask? It is not. This mask was made exclusively for me. I had it made. It kind of looks more like a Dos Caras mask, but no, it's not a Dr. Wagner. It is an Alliance official. And what popped to me was Double D saying, "Is Nic Swift Taylor's cousin?" Maybe. Michael says, "I'm in Alabama, and I was thinking about making a drive when they come back." I think you should, Michael. If you're a fan of wrestling, it's not. If the drive isn't too bad for you, totally should. I got a fly in here. God dang it! Get out of here, fly. Man, nothing bothers me more than flies. Maybe mosquitoes. All right, sorry, distracted. I was asked who my favorite Latino wrestler is, and I think I could say without question my favorite Latino wrestler would be Rey Mysterio. I also very much like Dom Mysterio. Super Callow. I really like Super Callow, mostly because his last name was Callow. I really liked him a lot. Since EC3 left the NWA, is he returning to TNA? I actually just talked about that, and I do think that he is headed back to TNA. I mean, that's just a guess. I have no concrete evidence to suggest otherwise. It's just what I think, and it all makes sense to me. They're going to a bigger channel. They're going to feature bigger names. The cream always rises to the crop, but having somebody like EC3 back on that TNA roster adds star power to what, a show that's going to need star power. Of course, they're going to use NXT guys, but at this point, EC3 has more value to me than somebody like, I can't even think of a guy. He's got name value, so I feel like that's a good choice, a good spot for him to be. Alberto Del Rio was good. Alex, a lot of people in Mexico still cheer for Alberto Del Rio. In fact, I'm going to the Crash Lucha Libre next Friday, and he's headlining the card, and he gets a huge positive reaction when he wrestles down in TJ. John, who's a wrestler who is good but doesn't get the credit? John Morrison. John Morrison, I think, really got a lot of credit. He held a title a couple times. Not only in the WWE, but he held the title on TNA, Lucha Underground. Had a lot of good stuff. All right. Soto and I will be at the February 11th AEW in Ontario. I'm excited about that. I met Alberto Del Rio, but my boy Soto was the one that took a photo with him. I can post it if you want, Soto. It's on my phone. I think I can pull it up right now. Let's see. Anyways, I'm not going to do that to you. JCal, you could probably easily a representative from JCW. He's on a lot of the indies chat. What do you mean, Steve? I'm kind of confused on that. I don't have a problem with JCW, right? Like, it's not my cup of tea. I'm not a huge JCW fan. I wouldn't consider myself a juggalo. Whoop, whoop. But I do think that, that Juggalo fan base is rabid and they support the brand. And you see these JCW events where thousands of people are coming or hundreds of people are coming, and sometimes they're outdrawing the NWA. You have to give credit to what those two guys do. The clowns, this fly is driving me nuts. I hate fucking flies. Anyways, getting back to tonight's episode of Power, we also have Mims in action. Mims had some really big victories in 2025, defending the national championship against Mondo and Legursky and Alpha Zoe and EC3 and even Max the Impaler. But the Pope ruined his momentum. The Pope ruined his national championship shot. He cost him the title, which gave Mondo the opportunity to win it. And then he got his victory back from Pope just a few weeks ago. But now he steps into center stage in Atlanta against the monster Nihon. And to Nihon's credit, he's the one that sent Maxine Paler packing. And he's looking to establish his dominance on the roster. So the Giant is looking to make his way into title contention. We've got the former national champion looking to get his way back into title contention. So this is kind of a big match too. And remember, Mims is a big, strong boy, but what is he going to do against the Giant Nihon? Like 6'9", like 300 pounds. It's going to be a struggle for sure. Maybe closer to 350. Nihon's a big boy. And then we also have a 6-man tag match. And this one's kind of weird because Alex Misery is going to team with his boys, the Lost, to take on Aaron Stevens and the Drake cousins. Now, Alex Misery has been on a bit of a winning streak as of late. He and Lev defeated the team of Duke Hansen and Slex. We call that the NWA TMDK. He also won a triple threat match that featured Daisy Kill and Joe Bravo. So teaming with Gags, the Gimp, and Lev to take on Aaron Stevens and Carson Drake and Lockjaw Drake is going to be an interesting thing. This fly is really driving me bonkers. Sorry about that. I almost had him. Sorry, guys. Aaron Stevens is not a regular wrestler at this point. He only wrestles on rare occasions. He did recently wrestle at the Exodus Pro event where he teamed up with Carson Drake. Carson Drake had a very up and down 2025 because he lost the national title, but then he became the NWA Southeast Championship champion, which is the Joe Kazana title for Joe Kazana Promotions. He was briefly the WLW heavyweight champion, beating Camaro Jackson, but then subsequently losing the title to Camaro Jackson. But he has been on a slide. Like I said, he lost the WLW championship back to Camaro Jackson. He intervened in the NWA Midwest Championship by using his cash-in, but was unable to win the title. And him and Lockjaw are 1-1 as a tag team on NWA Power. So with Carson Drake's shortcomings and Alex Misery's recent success, I mean, anything could happen, and the loss is completely unpredictable. But I feel like this match is going to be very weird. And then, of course, in the main event for tonight, we got Mike Mondo. Let's go back to some of the chat real quick. Let's see. That photo with Del Rio is AI. It is not, sir. Do not put that on me. Double D says, if you have flies right now, we had a blizzard today. America's wild. Yeah, it's been crazy over here. We had like about 2 weeks of rain where literally San Diego was flooded. Poor Soto had to canoe to work today. But I keep getting these flies. I live near dairy farms, unfortunately, and flies tend to migrate to my home as frequently as they can. Crazy that Cardona is in the NWA and the WWE at the same time. Yeah. But I mean, Soto's trying to be silly, Steve. Yes, Cardona's done working the independents. However, there is film in the can, and I don't feel like the NWA has to not show that. Now, remember when Natty was working for the NWA, Natty was a signed, contracted, obligated performer for the World Wrestling Entertainment. Matt Cardona was not. So whatever Cardona filmed before signing with the WWE, I think it's fair play. And just because they're late to the game to release the match, I don't feel like they're not going to air that match. I 100% feel like they will. So I don't think we're going to have the same issue with Natty Neidhart. But yeah, exactly, Steve. But getting back to tonight's episode, of course, we have the national heavyweight champion Mike Mondo, formerly of the same Mike Mondo that was in the WWE. He will defend his national championship against Wrecking Ball Legursky. He even took to social media to say, this Tuesday in the main event of NWA Power, I defend my NWA National Championship against the massive Wrecking Ball Legursky. I will show him that muscle is indeed greater than mass. Legursky continues to dominate in the Northeast. He's had a lot of big victories all across the Eastern Seaboard. In 2025, he had a very respectful run in the NWA with victories over like Jay Bradley and a couple other victories, but he has failed to get close to a title. Like, again, he wrestled Mims last year and was unable to procure a title, and now he's wrestling Mike Mondo, who I feel like 26 is going to be Mike Mondo's year, especially because he took the ball and ran with it. Once he won the national title, AEW announced their national title. Mondo took that opportunity to get a lot of publicity on himself and the National Wrestling Alliance, saying that he was the only true national champion, and that this other belt, it has no lineage, no connection to the NWA whatsoever, even though it looks just like, the old NWA national championship. So, Mondo has dominated the NWA since becoming champion, and I feel like this matchup is going to be a big time matchup for the NWA. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Alex Misery, you just missed me put you over, man. I was just putting over how good the loss has been, and the fact that you yourself just came off a big win with the triple threat match against Daisy Kill and Joe Bravo. And of course, you have that opportunity a few weeks back with you and Lev beating Duke Hansen and Slex. So we're expecting big things for you in 2026, Misery. That World Junior Heavyweight title isn't going to win itself. Double D said, oh, wait, let's get to this first. Y'all want to hear something effed up? Our babysitter's dog had puppies about 6 weeks ago. They told us for a month we'd had the first pick of the litter. Last week we picked out our dog. Last night they gave it away to some random guy. Told us we'd figure you'd be okay with any dog, not just this one. So I told them, F you, I'm not taking any of them. Well, that's effed up, Double D, but I get why you'd be upset about that. They went from giving you the pick of the litter to just giving you whatever. That's pretty terrible. But I feel like that we adequately prepared you for this week's Power. Of course, Power airs every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific on the Roku Sports app, and the replay at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, again on that Roku Sports app. Or you do have the option, you can just watch it right now on the in-demand. Now, I think you access it the same way. I watch it on my PC, so you can just go to Roku and go to the on-demand section and type in NWA. Not only can you get this week's episode, but all the episodes that have appeared on Roku Sports available right there for you. And then, of course, the NWA is coming back soon for more television tapings this February. I feel like the NWA is in a very prime spot right now. I feel like they're leveraged for success. I feel like there's a lot of positive things for the NWA this year. And we're going to keep talking about it right here on this live stream. And, of course, on Thursday, we'll be back with the Alliance, guys. First episode back in the new year. We're going to be talking about this week's Power. We're going to be talking about Matt Cardona. We're going to be talking about EC3. And we're going to be talking about Thrillbilly Silas Mason, where he's been and what he's up to and what's next. Of course, we'll break down where our boy Brian Idol will show up next. He's been defending that TV title all across the country. And, of course, Mr. Mike Mondo himself, who has that title match tonight on Power. So for everybody in the chat, thank you so much for hanging out and talking NWA with us today. My name is 𝙍𝙬𝙬. I'll be back here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, hopefully less flies. And I'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.